G'day and welcome to Beyond the Spectrum podcast, conversations with parents on autism and beyond. My name's Clint, I'm the host, and I am also the co-owner of Autism and Beyond, where we work with children in one-on-one coaching as well as support services. The reason that I decided to start this podcast has come from my time working with children, coaching them and talking to the parents and hearing their experiences and the challenges and the trials and the tribulations and all that come with raising an autistic child. And I know there is a lot of support out there for families and connection for people, but I think it doesn't hurt to really reinforce those connections and give another spot for parents to connect and hear other stories from families and what they're going through and how they overcame it. If you are feeling like you would like for us to interview you and share your story and your family's challenges and successes, please get in contact through info@autism and beyond. Welcome. First episode is a client that I have worked with for quite a while. I've worked with both of her children. Her name is Sally. I also know that the kids are looking for friends, so if you are based on the Sunshine Coast and you think your children may connect with Carmie and Arley, please reach out and we'll get you in contact with Sally. Have a listen, enjoy the episode. Cheers. Hi Sally, thanks for joining us today on our very first podcast. So appreciate you being here. Let's get into it. So obviously I've known you guys for a little while now, but those listening and watching, how old are your children and how many children have you got?
I have two kids. My eldest is 12. She is, her name's Carmen. And then I have a 10-year-old boy called Arley. And they're the loves of my life and the veins of my existence.
I get a small sample of that every so often.
You know my kids quite well.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously, again, I know you guys and know they've been diagnosed. Did you sort of have any concerns about getting them diagnosed and sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah. When Arley was 3, a friend of mine suggested that I take him to, it was like a local government-funded place where they helped kids that were a little bit different, and she just suggested it because he couldn't touch anything. He couldn't take his shoes off. He couldn't, like all the other kids were eating watermelon, and he'd have his cut up with a knife and a fork. That's back when he ate watermelon.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't do that now. So I took him to this place, and there was a group, like it was a whole team of, there was a psychologist, an OT, support worker. It was just a whole speech therapist, just a therapy team, and they evaluated him for 3 days. And they actually couldn't give me the diagnosis, but they just told me where to go, that yes, you should pursue a diagnosis. And I didn't believe them. And instead I just took him to an OT to get the sensory stuff done. And then the OT had worked with Autism Australia. And he was almost 4 at this point. And then I finally said to her, do you think he's autistic? And she said, yes, go get him assessed. And so I did. So Arley was the first one. He was 4 years and 2 months when he got diagnosed.
Right. And did you sort of wrestle with that? What was the reason you didn't sort of, was it fear around being labelled or people looking at yourself or?
We've always been different. We're vegetarian. We had decided to homeschool when Carmie was 5 and sounds awful. Oh, it doesn't. Sounds bragging. But she was too bright for school.
Yeah.
She was reading novels, at 5. And I had actually tried to take her to a school to get in, and the principal just said, look, she's just going to be bored. So that's when I walked out and said, we're just going to homeschool. And I didn't know any homeschoolers at that point. But we've always been a little bit different. So I wasn't really caring of the stigma. I just the idea of autism for me was, sadly, it was Rain Man. And so I just didn't believe it. I thought, there's no way.
Yeah.
And then when you get the diagnosis, then I started researching and spiraling. And it took me about 9 months to a year to just come to grips with it.
Yeah, wow, okay. So
it was hard.
Down the rabbit hole.
I'm the type of person that would jump straight into trying to fix things. So I raced into getting the therapies and all that stuff. And he'd already been seeing the OT when he was diagnosed, but we got all the help that we could. But we were in a small town in New South Wales, and there just wasn't enough support there. Not a great pediatrician, just our OT was really nice, but this was years ago. He's 6 now, but so 5 years ago, I was telling her that I think he's got a PDA profile, and she didn't even know what it was. It was, I mean, it was unheard of here, but I had done that much research that, I just knew more was going on. And then a lot of the therapists had told me something's going on with Carmie, but the pediatrician just kept looking at me like I was crazy. So she had a speech therapist, did a report thought it was autism. She had an occupational therapist do a report and tell me that she's got dyspraxia. All these different reports got done, and then the pediatrician just said, she's fine, like, you're crazy. And so I took her to his recommended psychologist, and she said, oh, it's ADHD. She's really quirky, but it's just ADHD. And I just knew it was wrong. I couldn't get the support that I needed. So we moved to Coffs Harbour at that point, and then I went to a pediatrician, didn't say anything about my thoughts, just presented him all the reports on Carmie, and he just looked at me and said, she's autistic. You know that, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know she's autistic, but no one else has believed me.
Yeah, right.
So she was 8 when she got her diagnosis. So Arley's diagnosis is autism level 2-3. He's got ADHD. He's really strong PDA profile, as you know. That's pathological demand avoidance for those who don't know. He's got ARFID, which is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, so feeding him is difficult. And he has anxiety disorder as well. And Carmie is ASD level 2, ADHD. She's got dyspraxia, hypertonia. She's also got a speech disorder called cluttering, which is a neurological speech disorder. And she's got anxiety as well, but it's not like chronic like Arley's, but it's just, level anxiety.
Are you, I guess, relieved now that it's sort of all been diagnosed and given you that sort of path to take?
Carmie, when she got her autism diagnosis, that was 4 years ago, she walked out bouncing, so happy, as did I, because we had answers. We already knew she was different. It was just now we had an avenue to get some help for her. So and after I got through the first year of Arley being diagnosed, I came to understand that autism is not a bad thing. That there are some really special gifts that come along with it, and we kind of dove in head first and became a very neuro-affirming family. So.
Yeah, it's funny that you said, it's not a bad thing, and a lot of the kids I work with, they all know their diagnosis, and some of them do look at it as a negative. And my thoughts on it, I always tell them it's your superpower, and again they look at me like, oh, what are you talking about? And
that's Arley.
My response is, well, the way the world is heading, we need people who think differently, and I think the autistic kids that I work with are those different thinkers, and I think we'll be the ones leading the world to a better place, I think. So
100%. Carmie's very positive about being autistic. Arley's not. So last year we did a poster, and we did the benefits and the challenges of autism, and I showed them how, sure, they've got challenges, plenty of them, but their gifts that come along with it are so plentiful that it did kind of balance it out, and I don't think he's nearly as concerned now about being autistic as he used to be. Yeah,
well, that's good, because hopefully people listening realise that it's I guess classed as a disability, but it's not really. Well,
it depends on how deep their challenges are.
That's true.
And depends on on the day, if they've eaten, slept, all that kind of stuff. How functional they are in the day, which can change all the time. But for the kids that, I guess even people that aren't verbal, there's still ways for them to communicate. But I don't know. I find that the kids being autistic has been a real gift for us in understanding just different differences the world over, and being accepting of many different people. And it's just been eye-opening.
Yeah, definitely. I think for myself, I guess I haven't always been the most empathetic person when I was younger, but working with kids and I don't people always mention how patient and calm I am. I'm like, I sort of, I guess that's why it works so well. But I just find that interesting. That sort of now I guess I always look at the positive with people. If someone's rude or whatever, it's like maybe they're having a bad day, or I'm always looking for the best in them. Or unless you're a bad driver, then it's there's no excuse. Okay. So what does a typical day look like in your house? If there's such a thing.
Time. Arley is up early. We have to leave a screen available for him. I hate it, but just when he wakes up, he wants that stimulation right away. And if he doesn't get it, he is in my room just jumping and bouncing and driving us mental. Carmie, on the other hand, we have to drag her out of bed.
Yeah, right.
Quite literally, it's 8 o'clock, up you get. It's 8:30, it's time to get up. No, don't come out in your robe, go get changed, put some clothes on. It is a struggle to get her motivated at all. Her energy is at a 0 in the mornings and it's at a 10 in the evenings.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. So on the day that we have supports like we see you, those are the good days, because I know the kids are going to get out and they're going to get social.
Yeah.
So we try to do activities and then have a lot of downtime. If they don't get their downtime, they're not happy kids. On the days that we're home, like today, we went to the park across the road and played some games together, which is our new thing.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome.
I know. Yeah. We played cricket today and a few other games. And my son spends a lot of time on screens. He's learning how to animate on Roblox. And Carmie is actually really into writing stories and animating on Procreate.
Yeah,
so she does a lot of drawing.
I've got a story at home that she wrote. I got her to sign it, so when she's the next J.K. Rowling, I'll get in trouble for saying that wrong. I'll be like, ha.
She's doing another one at the moment. So she's submitted a request this morning. She's trying to, I don't know, achieve some Warrior Cats script award. I'm not sure what it is, but she's all about writing and doing her own stuff, which is great. She's 12, so it's really nice to see her getting more independent and having goals.
Yeah, definitely, and I guess finding that balance between the screen time and the I guess outdoor time is always the big challenge, and great to hear that you're implementing park play now. So
well, today was day 2, so we'll see how it goes.
You're on a roll.
Well, yeah, and I can't just spontaneously go, okay, kids, we're going to go to the park. It has to be something that I've prepped for a long time and then told them, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start in 2 days' time. We're going to do it when we get up. You're going to have a quick snack, then we're going to go. And I have to have it all planned out. Nothing is spontaneous.
Yeah, okay. So that's another thing to consider in your day then. No spontaneous play.
No spontaneous play, no spontaneous meals. Unless it's at nighttime and I'm like, you guys can stay up an extra hour, then it's like, woo! But as far as activities and, day-to-day stuff, nothing spontaneous at all.
It's interesting that you say that, because the stuff I do with them is very spontaneous, and it's strange that I guess I can get away with it, and I do it for a lot of the kids I work with. Parents are like, no, they need structure and they need to know exactly what they're doing, when they're doing. And then here I come along and like, right, let's do this. Oh, let's go over here, and I think someone explained it to me, was like it's a fun thing, So if it was like an everyday element, then it wouldn't work. But because they enjoy seeing me, it's fun. Like, I guess I can get away with a bit more pushing a few buttons.
I think also that Clint time is time for them to be a little bit unsure of what's going on, but they know they're safe and they're going to come home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've got whatever, like on Fridays when you take Arley, there's 2 hours where he has an idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But he still knows he's coming home in 2 hours. He gets pissed off at you all the time.
I bet.
But then he makes it home safe, and he's always better for having gone.
Yeah.
Always.
No, and I always try. Yeah, I do push his buttons for that reason. Especially time is the big one. Like, oh, I've had enough. I want to go home. And for me, it's like, oh, that's no good. We've still got an hour and 45 minutes to go, buddy.
In 15 minutes.
Been 15 minutes. But then, I guess I do have strategies of, like, hey, let's sit down and have a drink and let's just gather ourselves. I think it's allowing that break in thought process and then like, hey, let's go for 10 more minutes. I'm lucky he doesn't have a watch because my 10 minutes is usually an hour and a half.
Don't let him know that.
No.
He's got a couple of watches in his drawer. He'll be able to use.
He started to question me about the time the other day. Well, that's good. So okay. So it's interesting that you've got one who's high energy mornings, other one's low, and trying to find that sort of that balance, isn't it? Is that, would you say that's one of your biggest challenges that you've faced along your journey, or?
Geez, challenges are, well, each child has the different challenges, really. They're both so different. Autistic kids are just like anyone else. They're all different. So you can't just put them in this box and say this is what they do. So Arley's biggest challenges are his anxiety. It's huge. It stops him from doing many, many things, including just trying new foods, that kind of stuff. Fear of failure, so he won't try to do a drawing because he thinks he's going to fail. He'll only do things that are new. He'll only try and learn new things that are related to other things he already knows. So I can't ever come out and just go, okay, I'm going to teach you this, because if it's not connected to 100 other things that he's done, he freaks out and says he can't do it. So we homeschool, makes learning extremely challenging.
Yeah.
So his anxiety is a huge one, and also his anger, which comes from anxiety. That's pretty big. He can't emotionally regulate very well, and his first emotion that he goes to is anger. So that's very difficult. We've done a lot of therapy around that. He's not really violent anymore, but he used to be very violent.
Yeah, okay.
And that ended probably about 3 years ago, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah, right, okay. Was it towards you or others, or just?
Mostly towards me,
Yeah.
but towards Carmie and Jeff too, but mostly towards me. And we started getting a lot of help with it when it became out in public.
Yeah.
So, people would have to come and pull him off me, and it was just mortifying and soul-crushing to have your, 6-year-old kid tearing into you like a banshee in front of people.
Yeah.
But, and he thinks about it now. He's just beside himself. I'm so sorry. And, he was out of his control. It was nothing that he could control, so it took a very long time to get him out of that. Yeah. And it was quite harsh getting him out of it, but we had to for everyone's safety. Yeah,
I've noticed, when he does get pissed off at me, he raises his voice and, I hate you and blah, blah, blah. At the end of it, I always pull him aside, hey, look, just calm down, and, yelling at me and whatever's not going to get you what you want, And he always says sorry, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and, so it's, I guess.
Oh, he's the kindest soul when he is level, and he is so empathic and kind and generous, but when he's a bit off kilter, he's a tough cookie. So Carmie's challenges are, her big ones are, well, anxiety at the moment, but we're treating that. We've just upped her anxiety meds, and the psychologist is going to start working with her specifically on anxiety. But her posture, because she's got hypotonia, that's when your brain, so say your muscles are extending and contracting like this. With people that have hypotonia, their brain doesn't send a message for the muscles to contract again, so they're quite floppy.
Right.
And hers is mainly in her torso, so she's got a very floppy torso, and she's not strong, so she's quite hunched back. We're doing a lot of physio and exercises to try and build up the strength in her torso.
Yeah.
So that's more of a physical disability. As far as the autism goes, it's more social anxiety where she struggles. But her gifts, the stories that she writes and her imagination, her vocabulary, the amount of books she's read, 1,400 books at least.
Wow.
At this point, as a 12-year-old. Yeah, and novels that are... When she read The Hunger Games at 8 years old, she asked me for The Hunger Games for her birthday. And I hadn't read them. I didn't know what they were. I'm like, yeah, sure, it's a series. My friends were like, are you crazy?
Right. So, yeah, okay. So, obviously, a few challenges. Have you? And I know the answer to this, but support network, and again, it seems very common with a lot of kids I work with, don't have a big, I guess, network in terms of friends. Obviously, they've got all their therapies and that sort of stuff, and it's one thing that always, I guess, upsets me is that lack of friendship amongst kids.
It's
And
really tough.
So do you have a support network for yourself and for the kids, or you sort of feel like you're on your own?
Support networks for myself are really hard because when I came into being the parent of autistic kids, I didn't know anyone else that had autistic kids, and you start to go to your friends and you're not complaining, but you're just venting and stressing, and you're trying to tell them about your struggles, and they look at you and go, oh yeah, my kid does that too, and you just think, there's no way in hell your kid does this too, so please just let me say what I need to say and just make me feel a little better, just hear me. I had a lot of friends, sorry, I just thought something. I had a lot of friends, not a lot, but a couple of friends just pull away at the beginning.
Really?
And it was probably for the best because they were driving me as crazy as I was probably driving them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find support. When you find a parent that has kids similar to you, that is the biggest blessing. So Arley has one little mate who's quite similar to him, and his mum and I have become friends, and it's really, really nice to have that person to talk to because we're the only ones that have children that we know as challenging as our sons. So we can bounce off each other and give each other suggestions. As far as the kids go, Arley has his little mate now, and there's another neighbourhood friend that we have that, they get along quite well. Carmie goes to some social groups. She has 3 social groups a week that she goes to, and they're her saving grace. She loves them. And she has a friend in the US that she chats to online.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, well, that's good. And I guess one of the other things that I want to come out of this podcast is the ability to connect parents as well. And hopefully, if you're okay, we can put your details out. So if anyone's listening and resonate with your story, go, hey, I want to talk to this lady. And kids, birthday parties. I hear so many stories of birthday parties where no one turns up, and I went to a birthday party because this little boy had a birthday party planned and all these people were coming, and then last minute literally everyone pulled out, and Mum posted in the autism group about this. I'm like, I'll go and do a class, and I was the only myself and him, or there was a couple other kids, and we literally just played for half an hour, because it's like I just didn't want him to have no one at this birthday party. And funny enough, this little boy, his mum was going through some abuse and domestic violence issues, and she said, he doesn't usually connect with males, but as soon as I came, he was just climbing all over me, and we were wrestling, and off we go. And she was shocked at oh my goodness, my boy just, who doesn't connect with males is just off, and she was fine. But, it just breaks my heart to see it's like, our birthday parties and no one shows up, so and hopefully we can share the stories and get people to go, hey, I want to connect with that, or my child will work well, play well with your kids. So that's sort of one of my ideas. So what's one key piece of advice that you'd like to pass on to other parents?
Only one?
2. I'm generous.
Okay, so advice, geez, there's a lot. Go with your gut is one of them. So if you have a therapist a lot of these therapists are young, fresh out of grad school, which, fine, all power to them. But if they don't have children and they haven't, or been around autistic kids or have autistic family members, it's really, really difficult for them to understand what it's like to live 24 hours a day with with this neurodivergent family dynamic. So I've always had to go with my gut. If a therapist is telling me things and it just doesn't feel right, listen to yourself rather than the therapist is what I think, because sometimes they suggest things. Some of them are heartbreaking, some things that have been suggested to me and that I followed through with and that I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
When I was younger and more involved with, when Arley was little, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have all the research that I had, and I was listening to these people, and some of them were having me lock them outside and just scary stuff. And it didn't feel right, but I didn't go with my gut. So that's one piece of advice. Go with your gut. Learn your children. Learn who they are. Listen to who they are. If they're not telling you with words, listen to what they're saying by their actions. So if they're freaking out, if they're unhappy, if they're crying, there is a reason behind that. Yeah. Your house needs to be a safe space for them. The world is chaotic. From the moment they wake up, their world is chaotic because their sensory information is getting overloaded. From the minute they wake up, they can hear the wind that you can't hear. The alarm's making a loud noise. There's banging and clanging in the kitchen. The neighbors might be doing something. They're coming into a world kind of with a shock every time they wake up anyway. So, you know what I mean? So they're already, so say a neurotypical brain gets that shock of waking up and like maybe something like you don't have any coffee. Say you're pissed off. Damn it, I forgot to buy coffee. You get pissed off and then you come back down, and then something else might tick you off. Like, oh, I've got a phone call and it was like an Amazon fake phone call. Ticked you off. You come back down. For autistic people, they get that first level of anxiety, and then it goes to another level, and then another level, and it never comes down. So until the end of the day, so it just keeps building until that explosion comes. So you have to teach them ways to bring them back down. And if it doesn't, you have to teach them ways at the end to chill out, to find themselves again, get centered, have that time so that they don't burn out and get overwhelmed. In this world, it's not made for them. So I believe truly that it's the environment that creates the disability. Yeah. So you need to make your home as safe for them as possible, as if they don't like their bright colors and lots of chaos in the house, then tone it down. Paint their room a nice soft pastel color. Take all the clutter away. Keep noises down. Change the lighting if you have. Make it a cocoon for them so that they can always come home to a place where they feel safe. Because that's what's the most important thing for autistic people. They don't feel safe because they can't guarantee what other people are going to do. Yeah. Every time they leave the house and talk to someone else, or human beings are unpredictable, and autistic people need predictability. So whenever they're trying to be social, going out into an environment, it is unpredictable and it's scary. Yeah. And so their anxiety automatically, even if they don't know it's scary, their anxiety goes up. And that's why. So they got to come home to that safe space and feel warm and welcome, and where their disability isn't a problem. Yeah, no. So that's my biggest piece of advice really, is to just make them safe.
Yeah, nice. That's good advice. Seems like you've done this before.
Yes, I have. I've got a lot of information.
So I guess last question. What are your goals for the future? Well, I guess for yourself and for the kids. Like, do you have any long-term goals where you want to get towards? Or?
I do. I've just sold my business, which was, as you know, it was a brand for neurodiverse. It was a neurodiversity clothing line. So it had T-shirts saying "Woke Up Autistic," things like that. It was great. My entire life was about neurodiversity when I was doing it, and I've moved on now to do something for me. So I'm going to go back to painting, which is awesome.
Nice.
My goals for the kids are this year I'm going to figure out a holistic version of like a goal for them. So for Carmie, I want her to be strong. I want her to have friends. I want her to be writing. I want her to be able to set goals and stick to a schedule. And, as she's getting older, she needs to be able to have priorities and follow through with them for herself. And with Arley, I want to find him some more friends and get him off his screens more. He's very into Roblox. He's doing coding and all that stuff, but I think still he needs to get off the screen a bit more and get active. He overheats quickly. As he exercises, he's done in 2 minutes. I'm done. I'm hot. I want to go home, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to build up his resilience a little bit.
Yeah.
That.
I'll have to chase him around the park a little bit more then.
Yes, please do.
Threaten to throw him off the bridge or something, make him really run.
That's right. Whatever it takes.
Oh, this is recording. It's on audio now, so.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Excuse me. Is there anything else that you want to add, or any last thoughts?
Yeah, I have one really good tip that I have. I learned along the way from the autistic community and from therapists. So, ways to help prevent a meltdown. This is the big daddy one that a lot of people can use tips on. So, basically, when the child is having a meltdown, you of course need to make them feel safe, but their nervous system has to be kind of snapped out of it. And if it goes too far, there's nothing you can do. They just need to get it out and calm themselves down. However I mean, with Arley, it's the iPad in a closed room. Carmie wants to just be alone and feel it, and she gets overwhelmed and she has a cry. But as that meltdown is approaching, like, you can kind of see it building up. You can see the stress, the eye pupils dilate, the face gets red, whatever the signs are for that kid. Get them to hold an ice cube in their hands. It will snap the nervous system out of it. If they don't want to do that, give them an ice block or something cold, or give them something like tangy or sour, like Nerds candy or Skittles, because that sour tang will snap their nervous system. If that's not working, actually have them eat something. So something that they like. It sounds like you're rewarding this meltdown, but meltdowns aren't controllable. So you're not giving a reward for something because they can't control it in the first place. It's not a tantrum. You're not rewarding a tantrum. So give them some food if they can eat it, because your brain, the way our human body works is that if you're chewing, your brain thinks that food is a pleasurable activity. So if you're actually chewing something, you can't stay mad. So it's very difficult. So if you can get someone chewing while they're getting angry, it actually changes things inside, and they manage to calm down. So ice cube, cold things, sour things, and getting them to chew. Yeah. Even gum, chewing gum will work.
Well, there you go. Very good tip.
Yeah.
I'll take some ice cubes with me, will I?
They might melt. An SDM, a freezer pack.
That's there you go. I didn't know that. So that's a handy little tip. So awesome. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for being guest number 1 on our podcast.
You're welcome. Anytime. If you want me back, I'm here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess we could definitely go into so much more. And are you happy for me to share your details if anyone wants to get in touch with you and that sort of stuff? Yeah, cool.
Definitely.
We'll put that in the show notes or something, and hopefully find the kids some friends and get someone for you to understand you and your challenges as well. I think that's super important. I think a lot of the work I've seen is, the parents are getting left behind in all this. There's so much support NDIS funding for kids, but I guess if the parents aren't functioning, then what's the point? And always keen to try and look after the parents as much as we can. So
that's it. If we fall, everything falls.
Yeah, definitely. I think there needs to be more emphasis on self-care and whatever that looks like. So well done on your painting, getting back to your painting.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for joining me, and we'll chat again soon.